No, I'm saying this. I hope it wasn't wrong person.
Good evening, Cleveland.
I'll call you back later. Bye-bye.
We'll try this again. Good evening, Cleveland.
Good evening.
I am Sam Dickerson, and we are standing here tonight because the mission of the NAACP remains as urgent today as it was a century ago. To ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equity of all persons. We aren't just here to talk, we are here to equip.
And to our family joining us via live stream with Billy Sharp and also with the Cleveland Police Commission live stream, welcome. We see your comments, we see your concerns, and tonight we are bringing the experts directly to you. I'm Shelley, and I'll be helping to guide us through this evening's conversation.
Let's be clear. Oops, forgot to hit the button. Let's be clear. When one part of our community is under watch, the collective safety of Cleveland is at risk. ICE activity impacts our neighbors' ability to go to work, our children's ability to learn without fear, and it's the trust we built in our streets. Tonight is about moving from the place of anxiety to a place of agency.
To help us navigate this, we do have a powerhouse panel this evening. From the Ohio House, we are joined tonight by Rep. Eric Sittenberg and Rep. Juanita Brent. We are also joined this evening by Marion Sy and I'm sorry, please tell me. Grace.
Yeah.
By Grace.
Just Grace, just single name. Grace, really.
Grace. Can we please show our panelists a round of applause?
We also have the frontline defenders of our workers and families, Grace Hoffman from the Northeast Ohio Workers Center and Marion Sy from Ohio Immigration Alliance. Leaders, thank you for being in the gaps with us.
So representatives, the floor is yours. We're going to open up this evening by, I need you guys to help give us a complete look at the landscape that we're looking at this evening, the ICE landscape. What are some of the specific bills that are currently coming through Congress? Can you help us to understand what those bills are, how those bills will impact our communities, and because I do represent the Cleveland Police Commission, how those bills will impact state and local law enforcement if they are passed?
That's a loaded question. She asked a lot of questions. For those who don't know me, I'm Juanita Brent, happen to be the state representative for House District 18. So I'm gonna just start off just introducing myself. What's your name?
I'm Eric Sittenberg, State Rep District 21.
I don't like to assume that people know who we are, so I always want to start off with my name first, because I could just be anybody up here. But these bills are something of all of us to be concerned. They're basically trying to, a lot of these bills are, NAACP is not a partisan group, nor does it lean any type of partisan way, but I am a partisan person, so I'm gonna talk very partisan in this moment. But a lot of these bills are only led by the majority caucus, with the majority caucus in the state house, within the Senate, and also in the House are Republican-led bills. They are basically utilizing our police, our hospitals, our schools to hurt and harm us. There's an overgeneralization that if you look a certain way, if people think a certain way, they could detain you for whatever reason until you're guilty, until they figure out what to do with you. And that's kind of the overall assumption of a lot of the bills that are happening, no matter if it's I used to be able to take you out of your schools. I used to be able to take you out of hospitals. I used to be able to detain you because of them needing you to have ID on you in different places. But there are also some anti-bills that are there, but they're not receiving hearings.
Yes, so first of all, I want to thank Rep. Brent because I'm on her committee, General Government. She's the ranking member of the General Government Committee. So I've been fortunate enough that for all of our committee hearings, she prepares these 1, 2, now this is a 4-pager. So that we know what's going on, and that's a great service she provides to us on her committee. And I know when she has community meetings like this tonight, she does this, so I was not surprised. I knew we'd be in good hands with all this information at our fingertips about all of these bills on both sides. The ones that the Republicans have introduced that are scaring our residents because they give even more power to federal immigration and ICE. And then the bills that we've come back on our side, on the Democratic side with, which is on the back of the first page. And some of them don't have numbers yet because they're so new. We don't have bill numbers yet. We have not yet proposed them. One of them is sensitive locations. So that's a bill that Rep. Mohammed from Columbus and myself are the joint sponsors on. We are still flushing that bill out, but we will soon enough be proposing that bill, which bans ICE from being in sensitive places like houses of worship, churches, schools, courthouses, and organizations serving children, individuals with disabilities, or crime victims. So, it's hard to say like that people should be so worried or not about any of these bills, pro ICE or anti-ICE, because obviously it's federalism. So the state is limited in what it can limit or do in this area, unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately. So throughout this discussion, I want us to keep in mind that federal law enforcement, federal immigration enforcement, ICE, for better or worse, the state can only do so much to limit what they can and can't do. It's really the federal courts that we need eventually to come in and limit what they can do and what their jurisdiction should be. So that's something that I want to keep in mind. Although these bills do matter, that ultimately it's federal law enforcement, and we need our federal courts to eventually step in and hopefully limit some of what's been going on with ICE. That fortunately we haven't seen as much in Cleveland, but we've seen in other parts of the state and other parts of the country, certainly.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Miriam C., and I'm here to represent the Ohio Immigrant Alliance. I know I'm hard to understand because I speak fast and I have an accent. So if anyone wants me to repeat, just raise your hand and I'll repeat what I'm saying. So thank you so much for having us and for giving us a platform to share with these amazing people and to talk about these issues. We are a 501c3 located in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. The organization has been around since 2007, but I joined the organization during the first Trump administration. So this, for someone like me, an immigrant, is overwhelming, is threatening, and it's scary. When I look at this, I get really scared. As an organizer, as an advocate, as a family member, as a community member, this scares me because we should not be having these conversations here as human beings. We're all human beings. We should not. I had prepared the whole thing to talk about, and eventually, maybe if you have time, I'll go back to my notes, but this is very scary. Why are we deciding on bills that will remove eventually people's humanity? That's not okay. When I started working with the Ohio Immigrant Alliance, a lot of people were being deported from our communities. My origins are from Senegal, but my husband is from Mauritania, a country where slavery is still existing. the government banned slavery in 1981. Ohio is home of the biggest population of Mauritanians here. Ohio is the home of my husband. He's a Mauritanian. We have so many Mauritanian people who are seeking asylum in the great state of Ohio. And we have chosen this state because it's amazing to be here. We should not have to fight for our lives daily to be able to raise our families, to take our kids to school, to go to places of worship. That's not okay. We want to be free. We want to seek asylum in peace. We want to go through a regular process with the immigration courts and the USCIS. We want to be treated like human beings. And so my personal story is not as the one of the people who traveled through the Darien Gap. No, I joined my husband. I've been here for 20 years, founded my family. But what we do at the Ohio Immigrant Alliance, we advocate for people who need voices. That's what we do. We advocate on a federal and on a state level. But today we have to make sure the advocacy is for everyone. This is not just an immigrant people problem. This is a problem for everybody here. Because remember, immigrants can vote. And so us who can, we have to make sure make the right decisions. According to TRAC is a research center that gives data about the government. 3,000 Mauritanian people are here in the state of Ohio, and very few cases are being granted. Asylum cases are being granted by the Cleveland Immigration Court. So what people do, they get deported. They get incarcerated, they get deported, they get separated from their families. And ICE presence here in Ohio is going to amplify that problem. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we are sanctuaries for immigrant people. We keep people safe, keep ICE out of our cities, because immigrants make us better. We make the state better. We make the country better. So we need to make sure this is not going to happen in our states.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miriam. Grace, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Grace Heffernan. I'm the Executive Director of the Northeast Ohio Worker Center. We are an organization that builds power for and with working people across Northeast Ohio. And as a part of that work, we have seen in the last 2 years or so that the conditions that allow these sorts of laws to be introduced into our state house and to work towards becoming the law of the land, that they send a signal to employers that their employees are open for exploitation. Most of the individuals who are targeted by these laws are hardworking people who hold jobs and day in and day out provide for their families. And as a result of these sorts of policies, a signal has gone out to employers that they can act with impunity against their workforce. And so we have seen increased levels of exploitation, of trafficking, and of targeted and purposeful theft of wages, harassment, discrimination, violence at work. And so we are an organization that stands with all working people facing exploitation, but certainly communities of color, immigrant workers, and folks who are being targeted today through bills like these, but also the implicit threat that has long been, sort of what it means to be an immigrant in America. And so I'm excited to be a part of this conversation and talk about how all of this intersects with work. Thank you.
Representative Brett, Representative Centerberg. We often feel like our voices get lost in the noise of the State House. How do we effectively lobby for our living room? How do we effectively lobby from our living rooms?
So this is Brett Brent. I always like to keep it simple. Being a daughter of an immigrant, I always think to myself, like, how am I saying this to my father? How am I saying this to my other kin folks who don't always feel seen in government, who don't always feel comfortable, who are thinking to themselves like, hey, I might not have an up-to-date ID. I might have an accent. How do I make sure that I am seen when it comes to government? This is why I'm the queen of one-pagers. So on the second page, and for those who are at home, you can text me 216-413-8932, and I can gladly text you this lovely two-pager, 4 pages, just about how you can testify for any of these bills. And even if a bill is not up for consideration, you can already submit testimony or in advance, or even send information to people that's on the committee. On the third page, for those who are in the room, is a list of everyone that's on the different committees that are addressing these issues specifically within the House. And contacting us via email, via phone is always the first best point of contact, and keep on doing it. I have if you were dating someone and they emailed you 23 times, you would be saying as a bugaboo, we might have to get a restraining order. But if a constituent does it, it lets me know that I need to stay far away from that people. You need to be a bugaboo. Most of us are not bugaboos because we're taught socially not to keep on doing it. But if somebody said they're gonna take away your freedom, like really take away your freedom because of how you look, not even because of what your status is, I think you would bugaboo them 23 times in a day. People are trying to take away people's freedom. So being able to say, I have the phone numbers, the emails of folks is the first step. And even if you don't have this paper at home, you can go to ohiohouse.gov or ohiosenate.gov and look up everyone's phone number and email, or you can just show up to our office because the State House is the people's house.
I like that.
So I concur with everything that Rep. Brent said. And our email is very simple. It's our if you look at the one pager, it is our district rep and then our district at ohiohouse.gov. So I'm rep 21 at ohiohouse.gov. Rep. Brent would be rep 18 at ohiohouse.gov, etc. I think the senators, I don't know, they have a boilerplate one as well. I'm not sure of that. And at least for me, that will go to the staff, by the way. That will go to the office. Some of the reps may check that. I don't think a lot do. The email that I personally get is my first name dot last name at ohiohouse.gov. And I assume it's the same for the rest of the representatives. So if you want to really make sure that not only the office, but the individual rep gets an email that you're sending in, you should do the first name dot last name at ohiohouse.gov. And yes, it does matter how many people on an issue reach out to us on both sides. At least for me, I try to be objective and take that into consideration. I can't say that about all of my colleagues, but we definitely do. And we've had bills in general government where we count how many opponents and proponents are there. And that speaks for itself sometimes. If there's 125 people that have either come in or submitted the written testimony in favor of a bill, and only 10 have done the same that are opposed to the bill, I mean, that's democracy in action. I'm going to go with probably, I mean, depending on the issue and what the specifics are, but at least for that part of it, I'm going to go with the 125 that submitted written testimony or come in to testify. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way, and we'll have many that are lopsided in terms of constituent and resident participation, but the bill will go the other way. But I think we try to be fair about, okay, how many people have contacted us on both sides? When it's overwhelming, that's a factor that's going to lead to voting in that, for or against whatever that group is, the larger group is desiring.
The State House is not fair. And people are thinking about how you sound. They're thinking about where you live. People are even looking up how you vote. So you think you want to call, you ain't voted in 5-6 years, you might not be effective for this person. Because they're like, they don't even vote. They're not even going to get me out of office. because they're not even voting. So all of those different type of things are people are thinking about as you are calling their office. But being persistent. How many of us got kids in here? You ever promise that you're gonna do something for your kids? And when we take an oath of office, I forgot exactly what the office oath is. I remember it, but I can't remember it verbatim. But it's basically kind of like a do no harm toward people. And you give your kids this promise. Our kids don't let you forget what you promised, and they're gonna keep on reminding you. So sometimes you need to remind us what our oath is. And you have to keep on reminding us over and over again. People not reminding us of this. I don't get enough communication. Shout out to Miss Pam who sits in the back. I've been passing out these one pagers since last year because I have to keep on reminding people to make sure that we keep our promise to you by reminding people what's going on at the State House. People don't bugaboo us like that. Are you getting a lot of folks bugabooing you about this?
Not enough.
Not enough. I could probably go through my email and I probably will have enough toes and fingers to go along with it. It's not that many people contacting us, but these bills are receiving committee hearings and you guys aren't saying stuff.
Reverend and Representative Burke, if I could just kind of inject a question, because I think it would help to put some context, some real life context about how critical and how serious these bills truly are. How critical and how serious. Can you help me to understand how close we are to passing Senate Bill 172, often considered one of the most dangerous bills of all of these bills? So if it should pass, what does that impact look like on our community? What does that impact look like, especially as it relates to law enforcement in our community?
So every community has this fund called the local government fund. Who's heard of the local government fund? So the local government fund pays for your police, it pays for your fire, it pays for those state roads that you guys always say y'all got potholes in. It pays for all of that good stuff. Now, if this passed and people do not comply with it, we're basically saying we're going to take some of your local government fund. And if you don't have the local government fund, the police and the fire, I know some of y'all don't always like to see them, but for those who do, the state will take away your money for that. That will have dramatic effects. That will affect your grandma who fell down the stairs and she needs the fire department to come get her off the floor. That's going to affect your cousin who's sitting on the side of the road and now the police have stopped because she needs to get her tire changed and the police are stopping to make sure nobody hits her while she's changing her tire on the side of the road. Those type of people that show up. The road that you come down, that you keep on saying is bumpy, and now your rim of your car is broke because now we don't have a team of people in the city of Cleveland or the city of Parma or the city of Solon to fix those potholes. That's what the local government fund does, and that's what the state provides you every 2 years. That's dramatic. So that's just on a practical level. Just on the lower level, it would really depend on what city you live in. You may live in one city where they're complying with this, and that if you look a certain way, they're going to allow ICE to pick you up. Then you can live in another city that's not going along with it. You're going to lose city services because they're not complying with it. So every city is going to have the opportunity to decide do they want to comply with it or lose their money.
And basically, that Senate Bill 172, which I guess is the companion to House Bill 26, is that state and local agencies have to share information. They have to do whatever ICE asks of them. They can't interfere. Judges can't do anything. I know we have a couple of our local judges here. It bars local officials and judges from interfering with ICE. So it's pretty draconian. And I think thanks to you guys, the commission, for giving us all this information in this handout here. So I didn't realize this has passed the Senate. It hasn't passed the House yet. So the good news is that the House bill, I don't believe, has moved that far ahead, and the Senate bill hasn't gotten much consideration. But that's not to say that won't happen in the future. But for now, as bad as this bill is, it hasn't, it's passed the one house, but not the other. So, and again, now that it's passed one house, to the points that were made earlier about the fear and anxiety, now we have to be on pins and needles until the end of the year, because at any point the House could bring this up, pass it, and then it becomes law if the governor signs it.
I say as the senior citizen of the State House, and that's what I am to most of my colleagues, the senior citizen of the State House. I really think this bill is going to come right after November, right after we get done with our elections. You guys are going to be so excited. You're going to elect a new governor. We're going to hopefully elect a new senator. So you're going to have all these new people that just recently got elected, and then you're going to have these crazy bills. You're going to be at home thinking you did your due diligence and voted for whoever you felt like you want to vote for. And then here come these crazy bills. Senate Bill 172, for instance, is going to receive all these committee hearings, or maybe one, because it's not guaranteed that they have to have 3 committee hearings in any chamber. Am I lying, Grace?
I don't think you're lying.
So we can have literally 1 committee hearing for this in the House, Public Safety voted out the same day, and it could be on the floor the same day. That's all it takes. So you're going through election season, we're waiting, but I think it's going to get passed during the lame duck season, which is the time right after the election in November through the end of December. Because most of you guys are going to be at home asleep, talking about Christmas.
Before we transition to the call of action, is there any other highlighted things we need to know about any of these bills and the urgency that we need the people in the audience as well as the viewers to understand? Because oftentimes, like you said, we get complacent, we get comfortable, and then we cry. Is there any other things that you need to hone in right now while we have this captive audience?
I would just say, as a person who sat on the Public Safety Committee, the Police Commission for the state, we don't hear from you guys enough. I sit in that committee hearing. I do 1-pagers for the General Government Committee. I do the same type of policy work on the Public Safety Committee. I'm doing this work, reaching out to groups, trying to get people to come testify. We got to get you guys to show up. It's $36 for a round trip ticket on the bus. We got to figure out how we can get folks to come down and put pressure on us. The State House is not serving people. And I think sometimes people think it's a them problem, like, oh, it's the people that have an accent, like my father. Oh, it's the people that look this way. Immigrants look like all of us. No one's exempt. No one's exempt at all. And one thing I find very amazing on swearing in day, and I brought my dad with me, and I brought him around, and he started talking to one of my colleagues who I know is a racist. I'm not going to say his name. And he was like, I didn't realize your dad was an immigrant, because he heard my dad talk to somebody. And it clicked to him. And so when his bill came to committee public safety, he said, I'm doing it for all those bad immigrants. He came and told me this. He came, walked up to where we are as members, because people think it's everybody else, but it's us. And if you any type of shade of brown, it's you too. So the urgency is now. How we show up has to happen now. There are bills right now that are targeting certain other groups. House Bill 1, which is a totally different bill that won't allow immigrants to own homes or own businesses with the state of Ohio. We've had more than 400 people show up as opponent testimony. How many people have you guessed have been showing up for these bills? Less than 30. That's for all the bills. They're not showing up. I promise you, you guys are not showing up. And I've put that onus on the whole state, not just here within our region, but we are not showing up. We're not in communication. And I will habitually keep walking around, walk with this 1-pager in the back of my car. Thank you, Ms. Pam, for passing it on to somebody that would actually listen to me, because I was constantly passing it out because nobody was showing up to our committee hearings about these concerns.
One thing I'll add is just people need to be aware of what actually is happening at the State House. And it's not, even though it's 150 miles away in Columbus and we're a little removed from it in our everyday lives up here in Cleveland and Cuyahoga County, you can be more connected by going on and signing up for the updates for each of the committees. So you can know when the agenda comes out the week before a committee hearing, what is going to be heard the following week in each of these committees. We have 26 committees. So that's a lot of signups to do. But generally speaking, there's government oversight, general government, public safety, judiciary, a couple more that are the most important ones, and that these bills will be referred to. So those are the ones that every Friday before there's a session the next week, if you sign up, you can get those emails and information about what's going to be brought up the next week. One good thing we have going for us this year, it's kind of a joke because they say, like, when we meet in Columbus, bad things can happen, and when we don't meet, nothing bad's going to happen. So Wednesday is our last session day until mid-May. So after Wednesday, we can all breathe for about 6 weeks. Then we're back for like 6 weeks, but then we are off until November. So we have that long summer break. But again, you can sort of breathe a little bit in the summer, but we're back after the election in November for those last 6 weeks of the year. And that's where some of the worst lawmaking gets done. So
besides being one of our aldermen at the State House, I also like to call myself Queen Petty. Because of my pettiness of this, I send out a State House update every Monday without a shadow of a doubt. If I don't do nothing else on Monday, there's a State House update that I send out through my office. And it gives you bills that you need to be watching, ways to testify, and also opportunities to get free money. Who like free money? Every Monday, I'm sending out opportunities for people to get free money to the state. So again, I'm gonna give you guys my cell phone number. It's 216. Y'all better act like y'all want some money and know about these deals. 413-8932. And if you email my office, you can also get it signed up that way through our website. It comes out every Monday because you cannot play with information. Too much stuff happens. Us members are a lot of times fortunate to know about something in advance. As the ranking member on a committee and also being one of the elder statements, I sit down with the chairman and we have to negotiate when a bill is going to receive a hearing. How can we negotiate that this one bill, Senate Bill 127, how can we do another good bill at the same time? So we're having those type of conversations. So after I sit down with a chairperson, I'm sending out my insiders emails about that. So if you want to be part of the insiders, let me know. I send it to everybody. It's a couple thousand people on this email list right now. We need to be in community. And this community does not begin or end here. We just got to figure out how we can communicate. Maybe your friend doesn't like reading an email. They might like hearing you talk on a video. Hey, I'm not big on videos, just not, I love writing stuff out. But if you like talking to Fitz in my office or Jackie, who was amazing in his office, please, we will figure it out and get you the information. But stay connected. Do not let this experience be a one-time only.
Ms. Brent, you said something very key and instrumental that I think a lot of us take for granted. You talked about information. And I'm not going to assume that everybody understands what we're talking about here because, you tell us to show up and those things, but no one's going to ask the question, when do we show up and how do we show up?
Showing up is sometimes easier said than done because we as humans overthink stuff. But committee hearings right now are Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's per the Speaker of the House. So if you're looking for a time to take off, Tuesday and Wednesday should be it. Maybe you can stay one night. The red weekend is $110. Don't judge. We try to give people discounts. Cheap, affordable places to stay. But the Greyhound is $36 red round trip. So we're looking at, plus you're gonna need to eat. So I think you need to budget for like $200. Maybe some people can come in community with cars, but we gotta come up with a plan of how we're gonna get there with all that. Like, I'm an organizer at heart. I think hopefully y'all can hear that in my voice. I just happen to be a state representative. But if we're not in community of getting this done, stuff is gonna keep happening to us. These rooms will be shelters of protection for us, not rooms of education. And so what is your community of getting the information out to your folks? How are you talking to people? Are you on Slack? Are you on TikTok? I follow some of y'all on TikTok. Y'all talk about a lot of stuff. How are you talking to other people? Are you in a group chat with your family? Sandberg and I are in a group chat. I talk to him all the time. But I need to talk to more people. He likes talking to people. So how are you talking to people? How are we in community? And that has to be our conversation of intentionality.
Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to do a call of action. I'm going to ask everyone at the sound of my voice to take out your cell phones right now. Representatives, can you be so kind to walk us through a script of success? If I called a staffer tomorrow, what are the 3 sentences I need to say to make sure my position is recorded?
And heard.
So the first thing is, and you can call any office that you want, but you certainly want to call your own representative and senator, because they're going to be most attentive to you because you're a constituent and a voter. So it's making sure you call your actual representative and senator. That's the first thing. The second thing is to make sure you probably have the bill name and number. I'm not that. Are you good at all these numbers? Always remembering which bills what. It's a new thing for me because this is my now 2nd year in the State House, but I'm getting better at it. But people in Columbus and the reps and the legislative aides, who are the ones who, when you call, will be answering the phone. It's these numbers: HB 26, HB 72, HB Senate Bill 172. The bills in this case that are on the one pager. So make sure you have that bill that you're calling about. And if there's a name or a title or it goes by it's something, you know that as well. And then just I'm calling. I'm in favor of this. This is a good bill. This would be good for our community. Here's why. Or I'm opposed. I'm opposed to HB 26. I don't think that that ICE should have that much power to tell our local law enforcement what to do. That makes me uncomfortable. That's it. So your name, address, so they know that you're a resident of the district, the bill number and name that you're calling about, and then what if you're opposed or in favor, and just maybe one sentence on why you're opposed or in favor of the bill. Is that good?
Everyone get that? I don't think he talked as fast as Miss Brent, but she said that was Miss C, that she will repeat. So do anybody need to repeat? Because we should hear from y'all tomorrow to your state representative about something. And if you're sitting here, that means we stand for nothing.
And I just want to add, I just want to kind of piggyback as he said it, but it kind of went under the radar, or at least that's what it felt like. Representative Sandberg just said that I should not have so much authority as to basically usurp the authority of our local and state law enforcement. If these bills pass, I know right now, Cleveland Police, they have taken a position not to participate in ICE's reindeer games. But if these bills pass, they will not have a choice. That is serious. We need you to participate, call, get active. We are in a fight for our lives.
And we don't want to overlook people, but we do have a rapid fire session. So when you raise your hand, we will hold the questions towards the end so you can have the questions, because we will take longer than what's needed if we start taking questions now. So please hold, write it down. If you can't remember, take a picture of it, but we will get to you towards the end. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that if these bills pass, it's not just going to affect immigrants, it's going to affect us, the whole as a community in the whole state. It's going to affect schools, place of worship. Imagine if your neighbor is afraid of going to the grocery store and U.S. citizens' kids. Or imagine if your neighbor was deported and they have to leave their U.S. citizen children here in America. As a community member, we have to look into the bigger picture. The consequences is not just on the immigration population, but it's on all of us as a state. So many misinformation went through during the last presidential election. That's why we're here. So many wrong information within the Black community. I would see ads full of lies on platforms that millions of people watch every single day about immigrants. And I spoke to so many people who believe those lies. And those lies are the reason why we're here today. And so please be mindful of all what was said here today. It's going to be a problem for all of us, everywhere. People will be afraid to go outside. I am afraid to go outside today, so let alone when these bills are going to pass. Many people have to go to work outside and will be afraid of being pulled over. Like it was mentioned here, the Cleveland police is not asking people for immigration status. If somebody is in the process of has a pending case with the immigration court and is on their way to work and left their children and family at home and being pulled over and arrested and deported, it's a whole system that crumbles. Millions of people will be affected. So please remember this is not just an immigrant problem, it's everybody's problem.
Thank you for that. And that kind of segues us right into our next question. And so policy, that is a long game. But the workplace is where many of our neighbors feel most vulnerable. Grace, could you walk us through the safe workplace checklist? What rights do we have the moment that we clock into work?
Okay. I shan't be talking about the workplace safe checklist. That is not that's not a term I'm familiar with, but I think the things I am going to discuss would probably fall under that category. So, something to say about work is that the laws of our country are set up to protect profits over people, bosses over workers. And so the rights that we have at work are very limited. And in many ways, U.S. labor law is set up to protect employers and to protect the flexibility of employers to exploit their workers as opposed to protecting working people at work. So that's just like baseline. That's the basics of your rights when you show up to work. There's no greater example of that than the fact that we work in an environment that has at-will employment. So at-will employment says that you can be fired for any reason or no reason at all. Who benefits from that? Employers benefit from that. Working people don't benefit from that. So that's your baseline at work. And so when you begin to layer on marginalized or vulnerable identities onto that as a worker, you are going to begin to see even more negative impacts at work in your day-to-day life. So you can imagine that, as I mentioned when I introduced myself, as we have seen the heat turned up on immigrants across the country in all aspects of life, that the same can be said for what's happening to them at work. And I am incredibly heartened to hear Rep. Brent and Rep. Sonnenberg have faith that there is change that can happen at the State House. I think many of us have had our hearts broken with gerrymandering over the last, 2 cycles. And it can be really discouraging. I heard a statistic, you all would know this, that there's 1,000 bills right now that are going to be considered between now and that November date. So 1,000 bills are being considered. That's a lot for us as regular people to keep up with. And the reason for that is, again, our government is not set up for us. It's set up for rich people. It's set up for oligarchs. It is set up to perpetuate an authoritarianism that we are feeling more and more every day. Where you can today and tomorrow have an impact is at work, in your workplace. Tomorrow, you can create a better environment at work. And it is using the same principles that labor organizers have been using for generations to show up for one another. And it is by coming together with your coworkers, talking, building authentic relationships, and taking collective action to defend one another in the workplace. And I hope that that is a heartening thing to hear, because what I am describing is not something like innovative or new or a new piece of technology that needs invented. It is really the act of showing up for one another. And so what I'll describe to you a little bit now are organizing principles that can be used in the defense of your immigrant brothers and sisters at work, but certainly can always be used anytime at work when you are seeing something happening that's not right, that's not fair, possibly even illegal. So the big thing is always be organizing. And what is the most important part of organizing? It's building relationships with your coworkers. So today, tomorrow, whenever you want to go on this journey of defending your immigrant neighbors, it is going to start with building relationships outside of your comfort zone, outside of the people you traditionally talk with at work. From there, you can begin to take tangible steps to begin to prepare in the event of ICE showing up at work. That can look like a lot of different things, but the big thing is know your rights, know your constitutional rights at work. And so that can look like having a plan, not for if ICE comes, but when ICE comes. Who's going to talk to ICE? You should have a spokesperson. Who's going to be there to review any warrants that are presented? Are they in the right format? Are they not even the right format? Are they real? Is there a warrant? Like, these are questions that you can prepare for. And then how do you protect folks who may need protecting at work? Can you create private spaces? ICE can come into public spaces at work, but you can create private spaces where they shouldn't be allowed. And so these are all conversations that you can begin to have with your coworkers when you've decided to come together and take collective action. And we have, thankfully, generations of organizers who have been doing this work, and there's real roadmaps for us. So that's where I'd start, talking with one another.
Thank you. If it had not been for Grace. Mary.
Can I say something about Grace real quick? She also sends out a weekly email too that everybody should sign up for. That's it.
Y'all, please send Miss Brent some emails. She got a lot to do.
I do a lot of reading.
So, Mary, you deal with the reality of detainment every day. Talk to us about the red card system, and more importantly, how a family creates an emergency plan before the knock at the door happens.
So, a red card, it's literally a card, a red card, little card like this, and it's red. Oh, sorry. So, a red card is a small card like this, a business card, and it's a red card, it's red. And there's writing on both sides, and it reminds people that they have rights. And so, what we do is we print red cards, we print many thousands of red cards. And we give it to people, just like people are distributing whistles right now for when you see ICE. You can whistle and your neighbors know that ICE is around trying to kidnap someone. We distribute red cards, and on the red card, it says that you have rights. You have the right to remain silent, and it's telling you what to do if you encounter an ICE agent. And so normally, in normal time, a red card would teach an immigrant who's been threatened by somebody who wants to kidnap them what to do. And if they apply what's on the red card, normally everything should be all right. But what's happening right now is that when ICE agents show up in public places or private places, particularly in private places, normally they have to have something called a warrant, a valid warrant, signed by a judge. So there's two kinds of warrants. There's administrative warrants and judicial warrants. So when ICE agents show up at somebody's house, they have to have a judicial warrant signed by a judge. But right now, ICE is not doing that. So that defeats the purpose of the red card. So ICE is just coming, taking people away. Even if you have a red card, ICE will take you. If they want to take you, they will open your door. They will break your door. They will come in and they will get you and they will take you away. They will snatch you away. They take people away in hospitals, in schools, in houses, in mosques, in churches, everywhere. So a red card should tell an immigrant person or somebody advocating for an immigrant what to do if they encounter ICE. Unfortunately, we don't have that. The red cards are being translated in many, many languages. We have red cards in French, Arabic, Haitian, Fulani, any languages that you can imagine, we do. On our website, the Ohio Immigrant Alliance, you can find red cards, you can print red cards, and you can distribute red cards to people. Hopefully, they will stop arresting people without valid warrants. But right now, we don't know. So for the second part of your question about families who need to make plans, what we advise people to do is to get attorneys. But we know that immigration attorneys are very expensive. Sometimes people have pro bono attorneys, and sometimes some pro bono attorneys do a good job, but sometimes people don't have attorneys because attorneys cost a lot of money. When someone comes in the US as an asylum seeker, they have to go through a process to have a work permit authorization, to have an ID, and then to be able to work and have money. It takes time. For a regular asylum seeker person, the regular process would be 150 days to 180 days, and then you apply, depending on the mood of whoever's doing the call or receiving your file. Might take longer, might take shorter, who knows? So when you have your work permit, you can work and start making money and get an attorney. The attorney is not always with you, but the attorney can help you make a plan. So what I would say to someone who's an asylum seeker is have numbers of people you can call right away if ICE shows up at your house. It can be an organization. It can be a phone number. At the Ohio Immigrant Alliance, we have a hotline number. We're not a rapid response hotline, but we can connect people to the right people. Sometimes people get arrested and their loved ones don't know where they are. So they call us, and with the A number, we can say, well, this is where the person is, and this is what's happening, and this is, we can give them basic information. So what we do is we tell people, get an attorney, or we try to get them connected to the right people. There's people, when ICE shows up, what we do is we grab our phone and we start calling people. I'm going to tell you one thing that I just found out that I was very shocked to find out. The government had a contract with an agency that's in France that was locating people, contact tracing people, and they were able to find where there were big concentration of immigrants living, and they were helping ICE locating people. And so what I heard was, when you call someone, the call don't go straight to the person you're calling. If ICE is around, the call goes to them, and then who knows if the person is getting your text or your call. So if they're around, who knows if the person you're trying to reach is going to get your text message on time? Who knows? Do you have time to call someone, to pack, to get the family ready, to get your kids from school, to talk to your wife about which is where and what? No. When they show up, you're in panic mode because your whole life is changed. So get an attorney. There are places who help people with funding. We're trying to fight in the city of Cleveland Heights with an organization called Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights to get funding so we can pay for some legal fees for immigrants. It's not easy, but we're fighting for it. And so, make a plan, write down, talk to the right people, to your neighbors. Make sure your family knows what the plan is if ICE shows up or if you get arrested.
Miriam, thank you so much for that. That actually kind of takes me to the next question. You alluded to, some things that people should do. But again, let's go through a tactical situation. I'm driving down the street. I get out of my car to go to the gas station, and all of a sudden, a black or white truck pulls up, and ICE agents jump out. What are the first three things that I should do?
Well, if I have an attorney, I will lock my doors first. I would lock my doors. I would try to reach my attorney if I have an attorney. If I have a family member, I would text my family member and tell them where I am. If you don't have an attorney, if you don't have a family member, reach out to someone from your community. If you do not have that, if you're in Ohio, call the Ohio Immigrant Alliance hotline. And I don't have the phone number by heart, but we'll get it to you when you go on our website. The phone number is there, and I will get it to you before the end of the discussion. Call the Ohio Immigrant Alliance. It's not just us. There are many other phone numbers where you can call organizations that can help you locate you and tell you what to do. So make sure you call someone and let them know that ICE is around you. ICE is trying to arrest you. Get your paperwork. Make sure your paperworks are out. Show them. Don't open your door. Don't let them come in. Don't let them take anything. If they force you, if they want to take you, they'll take you away. There's nothing you can do because they use force. So what can you do? Just make sure you tell someone where you are, have your paperwork on you. If you're a U.S. citizen, people are saying carry your passport with you, which is sad because people don't have to do that. But make sure you carry some paperwork on you. Call someone, let them know where you are.
Thank you so much for that. Grace, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Sure.
I could provide, from like an observer's perspective, if you were on site and you saw something like this happening, there are ways that you can observe and document ICE activity that are they're protected. You have the constitutional right to observe not only ICE activity, but law enforcement at any time. So in Ohio, we have something called one-party consent for recording. So if there's two parties, so myself and Eric, as long as one of us consents to recording, so as long as I consent to recording, I can record Eric. That is a right that we have in Ohio. So to observe and document ICE, this is not transgressive in any way. This is not you crossing a line. These are tools that we have today that we can use in any moment. And so I would encourage you to pull out that phone and to observe and document. And there are specific ways that you can do that most safely, particularly so that you can be as much help to that immigrant who's going through that experience in that moment. I encourage anyone who wants to learn more to participate. There are trainings happening in our community multiple times a week. The Ohio Immigrant Alliance is a great resource for that. I wouldn't be surprised if Rep. Brent has resources in their newsletter. We certainly do in our newsletter. There are things you can do today to help be prepared in the event of one of these incidents. And, Miriam does a good job of being able to rattle off the top of her head what she would do in that particular situation. I am certain that is because Miriam has participated in countless trainings, probably gives trainings. So she's going to be able to have her wits about her in that moment. The rest of us have a lot to do to be able to internalize these kinds of things so that we can be any kind of use when the moment comes. So don't wait until, crisis hits. We all have to be doing this kind of work ahead of time, ahead of schedule, so that in that moment when that white or black truck pulls up at the gas station, that we can be used to this movement.
So the phone number for the hotline is 419-777-HELP or 4359. And the email for the hotline is hotline@ohioimmigrant.org.
Thank you, ladies, so much. That was most helpful. And I know that our audience has a ton of questions. This has been a very informative panel discussion. Let's give our panelists another round of applause. I think they and at this time, we will have Michelle Wilcox, one of our PAC committees from PAC members, Political Action Committee members from the NAACP. She's going to help facilitate what we call rapid fire. So if you guys have questions, Michelle will be here to assist with that, and our panelists will be answering.
As she gets ready to start, we just want you to understand this. We have about 5 minutes left in this session. So we're going to do this lightning round. One question, 1 minute, answer from the panel.
Okay. Ms. Hammond first.
Hello. To anybody who would answer, and I think some of you got to this about being prepared. So the SAVE Act, talking about November, elections have consequences. How do we get prepared for that? Obviously, no, we don't want it to happen, but if it passes, I don't want us to wait until it comes. So what are we doing to prepare our neighbors for in case that's a moment that we have to hit? Yeah, I was going for Reverend.
For those who don't know, our Congresswoman, Chantel Brown, is having a passport day. I don't remember the day, but I know she's kind of picked up on the days, the amount of having passport days, because we know what the state.
This Saturday.
Thank you, sweet. Thank you, ladies. But I know she's increasing those passport days because one of the things that's going to happen with the SAVE Act is your driver's license will not be enough. We've always been told that that's all you need as long as that is up to date. But you're going to need a passport for the SAVE Act. For us ladies who got married to that, wonderful man or wonderful lady in our life, we decided to change our last name. It's going to be a whole problem. And having your birth certificate won't be enough if your name is changed. So it's hard to answer that because now we're adding an additional poll tax, and that's really what it is. People having to pay to have a passport to really say that you can be able to vote. $160, I mean, that could decide if you're going to eat this month or you're going to get to work, or it's a lot of things. And so you might just see some people just opt out. I think we're going to have to figure out funds locally on how we're going to take care of each other. So maybe that's Starbucks you went with your boo to go get, save your money because your mama need a passport. That time you went to Houston last week for the rodeo because y'all went there for spring break, and I saw some of y'all on TikTok in the room. You should have saved your money because you don't even have a passport to go to Cancun. So we got to prioritize of how we're going to do things because most of us in this room will not be able to vote because we won't have the materials needed.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the panel. Just one observation I wanted to make. You had listed a number of things to do when pulled over by ICE agents. I'd like to add one thing. Keep your hands in sight.
Thank you. This question is regarding the SAVE Act. So the U.S. State Department has issued an order for certain nonprofit, non-governmental public libraries to stop processing passport applications as of February 13th, 2026. My question is, does that impact the Cuyahoga County Public Library System or the Cleveland Public Library Systems? Are any of those libraries in that nonprofit, non-governmental public library category?
Great question.
They are affected by that. And for those who are at home trying to figure that out, when our Congresswoman has those passport days, a lot of times they're being done through our local libraries. And so when they're not able to, that takes it away as a resource. If you want to go get your passport, you can't just go to the library. Now you're going to have to do it yourself. That's a problem.
That gentleman right there was one of the first persons with the question. I'm sorry, but he that's the one who I was telling to wait.
Thank you. My name is Ernie Harris. And at the beginning of the session, I heard the two representatives say that we really don't have any power against the federal ICE. But how does our Ohio State Supreme Court stack up against ICE? I mean, we're talking now about how we can live with it. I'm thinking how I can fight it. Somebody can answer those things.
Well, and I maybe said that, and I actually wanted to at some point during this lightning round amend what I said a little bit. At the crux of these bills, yes, we still have the federal system, but at the crux of it, and it's I was given some information from the commission and it's in here, is that these bills are forcing our state and local governments, law enforcement agencies, hospitals, schools, and courts to basically become arms of the federal immigration enforcement and work with them to do whatever they ask them to do. And that's really what these bills are about, saying, no, this is Ohio. We still have some say over what our local and state law enforcement actors do, and they can't be required to cooperate. So none of these have become law. If they were to become law, then yes, they could absolutely be challenged and end up at the Ohio Supreme Court, where they could hopefully be struck down.
Thank you.
We'll take one more question from Davita.
Hi, thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for this information because it was very enlightening. Also, I want to ask the question to the young lady here regarding schools. You talked about rights as far as schools, as far as recording. And if ICE come into a school to either take away a child or to interrupt the school system, can you still record that in the school system?
You know what? I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure if the rules change at school or not with one party consent. But I do know that, I guess I would just use this as a moment to plug in other places where you have seen really incredible resistance to ICE that has included like activity at schools. It has been led by their teachers unions. And so I think there's incredible opportunity to organize around our schools and through our teachers unions. And I would love to know more about that question myself.
Yeah, I am a labor leader and belong to the unions as well. So I know that we are able to record, but sometimes there's iffy when it comes to children because they're underage. So that's why I asked that question. And I also want to thank you as well for bringing that to Cleveland Heights. I am the former councilwoman for Cleveland Heights. So thank you so much, all of you, for the information.
And just for clarification, when it comes to an educational setting, schools have cell phone policies, and a lot of schools have people locking up their cell phones. So that would limit it. But also there are no film policies in school districts because some people cannot be recorded because of certain legal circumstances. So it kind of trumps or trying to make it difficult for people to be able to record in a school setting.
Thank you, all of you, for participating in that Q&A rapid fire session. And just to wrap it up, no pun intended, a couple of things to note. Just stay in tune, stay engaged with what is happening. To sum up all of y'all questions that y'all had, you had questions about passport, you had questions about what you can do, questions about our rights, whether you can film or not. The passports, yes. So stay engaged because things are nuanced and things change so rapidly. So you got quite a few, two newsletters you can stay engaged with. Sign up for them so you can stay abreast of what's happening and you can be involved. Because as soon as we get complacent, people get into these positions of power, and now we're scrambling trying to undo what we could have undid at the last election. What we could have prevented, I should say, at the last election.
Okay. Some people we're about to give you marching orders, and some people are marching out the door now.
Sorry, I got
No. Tonight was about standing in the gap. Here are 3 marching orders for you. The script. Use words the representatives gave you when you contact Columbus tomorrow. Remember, when you contact Columbus tomorrow, the 3 things that Representative Centerberg shared with you. Make sure you are clear. Let them know you are one of their constituents. And let them know why you are for or against. Don't let the number 1,000 deter you. And most of the time, we don't care about things until it impacts us personally. But we are one world and we are one love and we are one person. And even if you sit there and witness it, it still will have an impact on you for the rest of your life. Do not live in a moment where you say what I should have done or what I could have done. But be in the moment and be present and act as if it was one of you or one of your family members. As Marion said, the card. Carry the red card. If you want to take it a step further, print out some of those red cards. And if they can't read it, you read it for them. And more importantly, a lot of us just take it for granted. We don't know our rights. So the network, if you see something, call the partners in this room. We are stronger when we are organized.
I just wanted to add, we cannot do this alone. We are much stronger together. I want to say a massive thank you to our partners, the NAACP Cleveland branch, to the Cleveland Police Commission. This is where you're sitting tonight, in the Cleveland Police Commission's house. To the National Congress of Black Women, NEO Workers Center, the Ohio Immigrant Alliance, and to Billy Sharp Omni Media for keeping us connected through the entire night. Please remember what you've heard this evening. As Brett said, do not let this be a one and done. You've been given amazing information, but this is where talk becomes action, and where action should become transformable change. It is up to us. Good night, Cleveland. Stay safe and stay informed.
And give it up to this wonderful panel. Thank you all. And to all, a good night.